Paul George came out on his podcast yesterday saying that the Clippers outright disrespected him in the negotiations in him coming back to the Los Angeles Clippers. We're going to be talking about what Kawhi Leonard had to say about Paul George's exit, guys. And so you can find this story on Yahoo Sports, guys, and we're going to jump right into it. And I thought that this was particularly interesting because Kawhi Leonard does not say very much of anything, but he is stating that he knew exactly what was going to happen before the outcome that took place with Paul George, which I thought was pretty much incredible to me because the Clippers, if you've been following them, they just went ahead and built this new stadium. I thought that they were going to want to bring Paul George back and have that star power out there to help fill out that arena. But Kawhi Leonard is saying, look, this was no surprise to us. This is something that we knew what it was. And for those that did not get a chance to see what Paul George had to say on his podcast, guys, look, he was trying to get them to offer him another year. The Clippers declined to do so. And so then he said, look, I will take a discount. Just give me exactly what Kawhi Leonard got. All right. So he acknowledged that, said, look, I want to get the same thing that Kawhi Leonard got. And he also wanted to get a no trade clause like Kawhi Leonard did. And the franchise declined to do so. And so that prompted Paul George to go ahead and say, look, as much as I love you guys, the energy is changed. And he went on to go ahead and sign a 4-year, $212 million deal to play alongside, Joel Embiid in Philly here, guys. And so, look, that is very interesting to me, again, because just like I said off the top, I thought that the Clippers would want to go out there and retain Paul George and his services to go into this new stadium. I think that the fact that the Clippers did not want to put the no trade clause on there, for me, I think that probably indicates that the Clippers were probably going to eventually move on from Paul George. And between the two, between Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, I would probably have to say that, in my opinion, I think that Paul George has been injured for quite some time. I mean, if you look back at his time with the Pacers, he was injured there. He was injured with OKC. And he was also often injured here with the Clippers. And I think that he had a bit of a resurgent year this year, but I mean, going into a contract year, I think that this is going to be interesting for Paul George moving forward because there was a lot of speculation about Paul George perhaps wanting to separate from Kawhi Leonard because Kawhi Leonard had an injury history, right? And I think that Paul George is going to find out that playing with Joel Embiid, that is going to be a tough situation because Joel Embiid has often been injured. And much like Kawhi, I mean, it happens at the worst possible time. I mean, because look at the way Joel Embiid was playing last season, and he got injured right as they went into the postseason. I think I can remember the year before that when Joel Embiid went down either in the Miami series or got hurt there. Either way, it's always been something with Joel Embiid heading into key moments into the playoffs, much like what happened to the Clippers in this particular playoff run. I think a lot of people thought that, hey, the Clippers were going to be the team to beat. And I admit they were looking great, but I have said this a lot off camera and on camera as well, that I think that the Clippers, in my opinion, are the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA. And what do I mean by that? They put up these flashy numbers. They look terrific throughout the season, but every time they get to the postseason, it is always something, and it is always an epic fail for them. And so the fact that they are moving on from Paul George, that is a tough situation, guys, because look, I think that the Clippers really lost in this particular deal because when you look back at when they acquired Paul George, I mean, they got him and they gave up Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. They gave up Gallinari. They gave up multiple first-round picks in 2022, 24, 26, along with two first-round picks via Miami from the 2021 and 2023 guys. So they gave up a bunch of draft capital to get Paul George over here so they could, perhaps have this hometown championship that they wanted with all these guys that are from out here in California. But it's unfortunate that it did not work. And I think it's a shocker what Kawhi Leonard said, that the fact that they pretty much knew that this was going to happen. But hey, at least they put together a pretty good regular season, guys. And so now just going into a little bit more of the free agency news, guys, and, just popping over here to some of the stories. How about Klay Thompson now with the Dallas Mavericks here, if you're looking at this? And so he's going to be wearing number 31. He says he feels rejuvenated, so to speak. So just looking at the press conference here, I know that Draymond Green definitely gave Klay, the vote of approval. But I just think that this is going to be an interesting situation. And I've talked to a couple people about this. I don't know if this is necessarily going to push the Mavs over the top. I think that not Kawhi, but Kyrie Irving he's still playing at an elite level, but he is not, kind of the elite guard that he used to be, back when he was playing with the Cavs and back in his earlier time with the Nets and things like that. I think he slowed down a bit there. But Klay is running into a situation where he does have some younger players that can score the basketball. And I think that, it's going to be a little bit of a different type of offense. It's not going to be that organized kind of chaos that he's used to with Golden State. I think that you're probably going to see Klay in a lot more of a spot up position role. I think he's going to be able to knock that down. And I think he's still able to defend at a pretty good level. My question is Klay going to be able to hold up throughout the season? Because there is going to be some holes on this Mavericks defense for sure, because Luka is not a very good individual defender. Neither is Kyrie Irving. And so I think that Klay is going to have to be a good enough defender to where he's going to have to not only play well on the ball, but he's going to have to probably clean up some mistakes on the front end for some of these guys in their miscues. But I do like the fact that they do have Gafford back there. They do have Lively back there. So, they're still looking to improve this roster a little bit, but I think that they're in the right direction. I love the fact that he wore number 31. Nick Van Exel wore that. And also to Jason Terry as well. So the Jet. The other news here in the NBA, guys, how about this guy, Cooper Flag? This guy is pretty good, impressive, stealing the show in Team USA. Got a chance to look at some of the things that he's doing. I think that a lot of people compare this young man to Wembanyama at this point, as far as like what it's going to look like in the next year's draft. But from what I saw on the highlight clips, guys, this guy was able to knock down shots. He's out there dunking. He's going to the cup. He's getting and ones. And he looked very, very comfortable out there at this point in time. And it's just the fact that he's going to be a freshman next year at Duke. I am absolutely looking to take a look at this young man. And seeing what he can do at 6'8", slightly over 200 pounds, if you're reading this here. So, I'm very curious to see what he can do. Like I said, I think he gave a lot of these guys the business, man. He scored over Drew Holiday, who is a very elite defender. Just seeing him getting some and ones, you see him knocking down shots here if you're looking at this via the screen, guys. And so, just getting a chance to look at this guy for the first time. I definitely I'm starting to see what all the hype is about. And to be honest with you, once I saw this, I'm thinking about the Chicago Bulls pick at 11 that they had this year with Modest Buzelis. And I got a chance to look at some highlight clips of him going one-on-one with Cooper Flag here, and he was giving him work. So I'm really, really curious to see what Buzelis is going to look like with the Chicago Bulls, because this man certainly was impressive. So shout out to Cooper Flag out there playing some good basketball in Team USA's camp, guys. And so, with that being said, I just want to go back and talk about a little bit more of the Summer League, guys. I promised that we would talk about that a little bit more. One of the standouts to me so far has got to be Zach Edey. I think that Zach Edey was absolutely impressive in his debut, guys. I thought that what we saw from Zach Edey is a lot of what I thought we were going to see with him coming out of Purdue. I loved his assertiveness and the way that he was able to get post position. I love the fact that he was not intimidated. And I love the fact that he not only got blocked by Walker Kessler, who is a starting center for Utah, but he dunked on him. And I love the fact that he went back at him. I was curious to see what his response would be in some adverse situations. And I must say, I loved what Zach Edey did. I think he was well deserving of the 9th pick for the Grizzlies. A lot of people think that he may not start for the Grizzlies, but I think that there is a path for this guy to start. I think that him being a starter, you have a healthy Ja Morant in a pick and roll situation. I think that that is going to be scary for any team. And I have always thought that if Edey can become a mid-range shooter for that size, I think that you're looking at a guy, to me, that translates a lot like a Yao Ming from back in the day. And I think that his footwork was quite impressive. I think that he's gotten considerably better than what I saw on tape. And so I like this guy's upside. So I definitely liked what Zach Edey was able to do. Another player that came to mind so far in the Summer League has got to be Khalil Ware of the Miami Heat. Very high on Khalil Ware. I had him highly rated. I thought that he absolutely, was one of the top tier centers to get in this particular draft. I think that this is an excellent piece for Miami to go out and get him. Guys, I think that he is going to be a guy that perhaps could maybe bridge the gap a little bit more for Miami in whatever transition that they're going through. I know that they're trying to hold on to Jimmy Butler right now and see what they can do. I know that there's a lot of players that have exited Miami, whether it's been Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, now Caleb Martin, who's left in free agency. So the roster has changed a bit, but I think with adding Khalil Ware, I think that this is going to now start to move them a little bit more into the youth movement. I think that they can still win with this guy. And I think that Miami has nailed it really the last 2 drafts because they had Jaime Jaquez out of UCLA from last year's draft, very high on him, watched a lot of his tape, watched a lot of his games, got a chance to look at him at the Drew League. And I wasn't shocked with what he was able to do, but I think quietly the Miami Heat have got a nice piece that is going to help, this Miami Heat team continue to kind of move on to their youth movement and continue that Heat culture. So those are 2 standouts thus far that really did well. Just kind of looking at the early look at the Summer League guys. And so very, very, very curious to see what is going to happen down in Las Vegas. There's several players that I'm looking forward to. Definitely looking forward to seeing what Buzelis is going to look like for the Chicago Bulls. I was looking forward to Devin Carter for the Kings, but unfortunately it looks like he had a shoulder injury. And because of that, it looks like he is going to be a bit questionable for the season's the start of the season, I think is what I saw. So unfortunate, but I wanted to see him play. But if you've been following Summer League as well, I think you're familiar with what's going on with Bronny James. Had a mixed review, I think, for his start. I think that the effort level is certainly there for Bronny James. Got to knock down some more jump shots and things like that. A little bit concerning that he had to be pulled out of the next game due to some swelling in his knee. That's not a good sign, I think, for a young prospect. And obviously with all the coverage that's around him, they're going to scrutinize anything that goes wrong with him. So, curious to see what they do with that. I think Dalton Connect I think he was solid. I had him as kind of like he's almost to me like the modern kind of Wally Zerbiak type of player, but I love the fact that he's certainly aggressive. All right, but I hope he doesn't get buried in the rotation when he gets up to the big club. But I'm thinking that he's going to have kind of a slow start, almost like what Brandon Miller had for the Hornets last year. He was the number 2 pick in the draft behind Wembanyama. But anyhow, guys, that is a little bit of the NBA free agency summer league. We just covered the shocking truth as to why Paul George is no longer with the Los Angeles Clippers. We are going to be coming back talking more summer league action, guys, more free agency, more trade rumors out there, guys. This is Real Talk Sports with Rico. Want to thank you guys out there for chiming in on a week-to-week basis. Want to thank the sponsors out there for putting sponsorship on the show. And I will see you guys on the next one. All right, guys. Peace, peace, peace. Peace.